7, if you look at the question, it says, which choice most logically completes the text? These questions we call inference questions. But under inference questions, we also have subtypes. And this is one type that I like to call, I need to play with Peter, but mom doesn't allow me to. What does that mean? So let's say you guys have a friend named Peter, and you promised Peter 3 months ago that you're going to play with him this Saturday. Okay? And Peter was very obsessive. He checked with you every single week. We're still on Saturday, right? We're still doing it, right? And they were like, yeah. You better, because if you don't play with me this Saturday, it's over, right? I was like, okay, right? On the day of, you wake up and you're getting ready to go out to meet Peter, but then your mom's like, no, where are you going? Oh, I have to meet Peter. You can't. What do you mean? She says, I have to go to a funeral. So you have to stay home and look after your little brother. Don't you dare leave the house today. Oh no, what do? What can you do? Seems like there's 2 things that you have to do at once. What do? You give up? You lie. You lie? Oh my goodness, children. We have very bad problem solving skills, right? So that's the situation. These reading questions are giving you 2 situations, conditions that seem to contradict each other, or they cannot stand at the same time. But there's always a way you can reconcile the 2, and that's what you're supposed to find. So in this case, what you can do is you call up Peter and say, yo, come over to my house. Let's play at my house, because I can't go out. Right? So you guys can play with Peter, and at the same time, listen to your mom. Happily ever after, right? Yeah, see? That's why these questions are hard. Because you guys couldn't think of that like the 3rd possibility. You felt that you had to negate the conditions that were given to you. And that's how students get this question wrong. So let's see what the situation is in this passage. So here it says, okay, because the coins with silver content below 80% were widely considered unsuitable for trade. Okay, so we're using coins, silver coins as money. Then we are very, very obsessed with the fact that, is this real money or not, right? And then here it says, if the content of silver is below 80% of the whole coin, they won't use it, right? And that created a crisis in confidence in the currency because they didn't have enough silver. They were in a what? Persistent oppressive financial obligations. They don't have money, oh no, what's gonna happen? But then it seems like they solved the problem. It was relieved. As the result of this guy's successor, this dude decided to do what? How did he solve the problem? The first condition is what? We don't have money. But second, we have to keep the percentage of silver above 80%. These 2. What do? What can we do? Remember, its percentage is just a relative number within your own composition, right? So, okay, without spending more money on silver, all we have to do is decrease the size of the coin, right? Then the silver is the same, but then the 80% threshold can be met. Right? Yeah, you guys all know this because when we go to the 편의점, right? You have this favorite 과자 that you eat and then it's always 1,500원, right? But then one day you were like, it's way smaller than I remember it. You've all had this experience, right? Because people will riot if you increase the price. You can't do that. So what do the companies do? If they feel that they have to save money, they're just gonna shrink the size, overall size of the thing, right? So that's the same thing that's happening here. So if we look at this, what are they doing? They are gonna keep the amount of silver in the coins consistent while they decrease their weight. Problem solved, right? We have a middle ground. So here, A, fund the mining. You just negated condition number 1. We don't have money. We can't spend more money. Don't negate. Number 2, mint heavier coins with the similar proportion. Again, we don't have money. We can't afford bigger coins. What do you mean? D, proclaim that we will up the threshold to over 80%. This, right? You're going in the opposite direction. That keeps asking for more money, right? So C is the only one that does not cost more money. Again, it looks like an inference question, but this time the question looks a bit different. It says what would support the researchers' hypothesis. Why they have this format is because they want to recycle this question. So because making questions are difficult. So they just changed the support to weaken. Now you have a new question, yay, right? College Board, very lazy, stingy, right? So let's go look at what this is talking about. So what is their hypothesis? Down here, right? They hypothesize that the interactions indicating high levels of cognitive engagement with ad content, that's A, would result in a relatively high level of ad recall, B. So it's saying A and B are related in a positively correlated way, right? That's the relationship. If you have high level of cognitive engagement as you like, or you subscribe, or you share, you comment, those kind of things, then you will remember better. So it's these two things. It's a relationship of these two. So in A, B, C, D, for it to qualify as potentially the answer, you have to have both. And they have to be in a relationship. So let's look at A. So what does it say? Those who interacted with the ad are much more likely to do so by clicking than in any other way. Wait a minute. We're comparing between different methods of engagement. What about memory? Where did memory go? Ah, that one's out. B, so they were likely to purchase. Do we have anything about purchasing? Oh, that's out. C, compared to users who clicked on links and commented, they were significantly more likely to remember. There we go. There we go. Okay. D, it says here, oh, they remembered 2 weeks later, but those same users forgot when they did it again a week later. So the difference here is the time frame, right? Time. They never mentioned time. So the answer now becomes C, like that. So did we read anything up here? No. We didn't need to, because in the end, all we were asked to do is to judge the hypothesis. So we just focus on the hypothesis. And that's the end of the story. And if you feel that you can't, that's when you start reading. But we can, right? Trust yourself. You're learning from me. You can trust yourself. Okay, let's go to number 9. When I first saw this question, and this question was on the real test, I had to have a moment of, let's have a moment for the people who first saw this question on their real exam, right? And they're like, okay, what is this saying? They read it, and they read it again. I can't understand it. Oh no, my test, right? Yeah. So for these questions, to be honest, because they're so foreign, you're not familiar with these kinds of concepts and words, so it becomes an interpretation question. So for these, the key is to practice a lot of these kind of questions so you know what kind of possibilities are out there. Usually you get things wrong because you never imagined about that possibility. Okay, so let's see this. Morphological novelty. What does morphological mean? Morph means shape, right? Shape. So it's talking about the shape. Novelty. New. Yeah, new or rare. Okay, so echinoderms, whatever they are, they're star-like. Oh, bulgasari, right? Bulgasari, they look really rare, strange, their shape is a rare, new. Oh, okay, that's understandable. Impedes, it hinders comparisons from most other animals. You can't compare a bulgasari with an elephant. They look way too different, right? That's what it's saying. Because most animals, if you think about it, they're bilateral symmetry with anterior-posterior axis to their trunk is typical. Let me draw for you what that means. So most animals, like humans, have an anterior head, and then a trunk, right? Body, and then a tail. Although we don't have a tail, like this. And then if we draw an axis in the middle, boom, symmetry. But then a starfish looks like this. We can't fold it in the middle, right? So they're so different. So we're trying to figure out what happened to this starfish. So particularly puzzling though are sea stars because They were thought to have evolved from a headless layout from a known bilateral origin. This was very, very important, this sentence right there. So, we known that the starfish came from, a long, long, long time ago, their ancestors who had a bilateral origin. They used to look like this. But then how did they become starfish? That's the question. So your guess, if you were to make a person into a starfish, how would you do it? Easiest way seems to be, yes, we have limits into our imagination, so okay. So what the scientists have thought was, maybe if we cut the head off completely, and then now we have the limbs, and then you pound it down flat, then we have a starfish. Yay, right? So we thought we didn't have a head, but then we did an experiment with acorn worms, which are like similar to the starfish. And then what did they find? Oh, they observed activity only in anterior genes across the entire body and some posterior genes limited to the edges, which suggests, okay, that means we have to interpret this. So if we take that, it says, oh, what they saw was the starfish anterior genes. That means the head, right? Most of their genes were the head, and then just some posterior genes at the edges. So now it looks like, oh, it wasn't a headless format. A starfish was mostly just head. Mostly head with just a little bit of tail. So that means there's no trunk, right? Okay, now we're gonna take that and say, oh, rather than undergoing changes resulting in eventual elimination of the head region, as we originally thought, previously assumed, the starfish actually evolved to completely lack a trunk, right? They don't have a body, and now they're primarily a head. That's it. See? So like I said, this passage, you just have to understand it once, and then it becomes crystal clear. So there are definitely questions that rely on your interpretation skills. Okay, last one, number 10. It's a grammar question. Grammar question. I see there are 2 points that are being tested here. Okay, this one is testing title, and here it's testing, let me guess. Oh, subject plus verb. So let me just introduce you to these two concepts. You will think that you need to read a full grammar book and get like completely versed in it to be able to solve these questions, but that is not true. You guys all can speak English, right? Then that means you already have a good enough basis to get these questions right. So I'm just going to teach you just little chewable rules to add on to your already existent English skills so that you can get these things right. Okay, so one concept, title. Title means that if you have a name like this and then in front of it, that is your position, aka title, you don't interrupt it with anything. You can't punctuate it at all. Think about Queen Elizabeth. Do we put a comma between Queen, comma Elizabeth? No, right. This is my best friend, Jerry. Do you say this is my best friend, comma Jerry? No, you're in the process of telling everybody this is your best friend. What is a comma? It is, oh, we can take a break here, right? But then you're like, this is my best friend, okay, let's go to the bathroom. What kind of psychopath is that, right? We were waiting to hear the name of your best friend, right? So that's what you have to do. You cannot take a break here. So immediately, A and D are out. Bam. Wow, from 4, we have now 2. So now we have to move on to this part. Do we need a comma after Yuri Lee or not? But then we see, oh, plant cell biologist Yuri Lee, obviously this person is the subject. And then here looks like, do we need to go for a verb here? Is that the verb? We keep reading. Show that are responsible to open stomata. Yeah, that is the verb. Then the subject and the verb are right next to each other. Now, the subject and the verb are a couple, okay? And they're very lovey-dovey couple. You cannot cut between a subject and a verb. If you have a couple walking towards you and they're like holding hands and then you guys are walking towards them, do you go like that? No, you will right? You let them pass. That's what we do for subject and verb. Okay, so we do not cut. Therefore, we can't cut. B is out. Then the only one left is C. C is the answer.